They, again, are very small, but these are the prized possessions for the Karamojong people. So what about the people of Karamoja? What do they do? What's their occupation? So for the men and boys in Karamoja, they've got basically two main things. So for the boys, traditionally they were the shepherds. So from the time they're about 5 years old till about 18 or 20 or whenever they get married, they're the shepherds. So every day during that 15-year period, you wake up at 6:30 or whenever it gets to be light in the morning until 7 o'clock when it's dark at night. That's your life. You follow the cows around all day. So they have the really exciting lifestyle of being shepherds. Then, when you become a man, traditionally or historically, the work was to be the warriors. And so not only would they go on the cattle raids to steal the cows, but they were responsible for protecting the villages. And so, there might be wars among the different tribes or whatever. But nowadays, in Uganda, it's basically a peaceful, a relatively stable country. And so there's very little intertribal warfare. And so most of the men, basically, they lost their jobs. So nowadays, the men of Karamoja, they literally will sit around for 7 or 8 hours a day just talking, politics, how many cows you have, how many wives you have, things like that. So again, most of the men aren't doing a whole lot in Karamoja, which means the women get to do everything else. So whether it's raising the children, preparing the meals, building the homes, doing the gardenings, collecting the water, they do it all. So that means the girls have to learn how to do all of those things. So again, maybe around the age of 5, 6 years old, they're going to start learning how to do all of those things. One of the most important things that they do is they have to be able to carry things. And so a lot of their supplies, their water, etc. aren't there right in the village. And so they've got to be able to carry it all home. So they carry everything on their heads. So you'll see these little girls out, they've got to practice to be able to do this. They might just have 1 cup of water. They might just have 1 tree branch, something like that. So that by the time they're a full-grown woman, they have to be able to carry huge loads of things on their head. So for example, if you need water, thankfully nowadays there's various organizations that have come in and have started to drill wells. They call them boreholes. And so a lot of the villages have much better, cleaner water than just using those local puddles. However, these wells, these boreholes are not in every village. And so you've got to hike over to wherever the borehole is, you've got to hand pump it all, and then you've got to get it home. And again, everything is carried on their heads. So they go from carrying a cup of water when they're little to these huge jugs of water when they're full-grown women. You'll see these women carrying literally a full tree on their head. They'll have 200 pounds of grain on their head, have a baby strapped on their back, and 2 big jugs of water or oil or something in their arms. So in Karamoja, the women are the stronger people. What about their dress? What do they look like? For the men and the boys, traditionally it was blankets, or these sheets they call them. And again, traditionally that was all that they would wear. So we're very thankful for these Western nations that send shipments of secondhand clothing over. So instead of just wearing a blanket like this, they'll have shorts or trousers or something on underneath. Nowadays though, there's kind of a shift in the style. So instead of just wearing these nice plaid blankets, I'm from a Scottish background, so I like the plaid. They've really taken up wearing big bedspreads. So they're these huge blankets, they're really fuzzy, brightly colored, and they've got this huge flower right in the center. And so you've got these warrior dudes wrapped up in their fuzzy flower blankets, and it's like 120 degrees outside. But there's even a new thing that they've started to do. So, again, it used to just be these nice plaid blankets. Well, I mentioned how most of the men, they sit around and don't do much of anything except talk. Well, there's a few things that some of the younger guys have started to do. And so instead of just sitting around, some of the young men have taken... Boy, I don't know what's going on, but it's not working. Some of the young men have taken up crocheting. So you've got these guys... This is one of the jobs that they can do. They're wrapped up in their fuzzy flower blankets, and they wear Dr. Seuss hats. So, again, a new style among the young guys of Karamoja. What about the women? The women like lots and lots of color. So the traditional dress would be a skirt made out of many different colors of fabric sewn together in strips. So lots of colors in their skirt. They'll wear a blanket like this to strap their baby on. Again, many different colors of blankets, and then lots and lots of beads. So you can see how the women really like lots of color. So this is a termite mound. We've got termite mounds all around in eastern Africa. Some of them can literally be 8 or 9 feet tall and actually have millions of termites inside of them.
So we live and work with the Orthodox Uganda Mission, and we are not there by ourselves. We have an entire team to work with, which makes it a blessing. It's a really good thing to have a team to work with. That means that the responsibility doesn't fall solely to Jim and I, and we're really thankful for the other aspects of the mission as well. So we have 2 pastors and their families who are there working with us, and so I'm going to just introduce them to you by way of picture. This is Pastor Alfred Carrico and his wife Lori, and they have 5 children. This is Kate, Emily, Maria, James, and Joshua. And this is Josiah, Emily's husband, and Zach, Kate's husband. So the Carricos are currently on furlough as well, traveling and speaking to churches and telling them about the work that they've been doing. But we're really thankful for Al's ministry of the word in Karamoja. He's a vital part of the mission as well as his entire family. This has been quite a year of transition for their families, so they would appreciate your prayers. Kate and Emily were married about a month apart from each other this spring. Kate graduated from university, and then Maria started university this week. So when they come back to the field in January, Lord willing, it'll just be James and Joshua and then Al and Lori. So they'd really appreciate your prayers as they transition through all of these different life events. We also have Pastor Dave Ocken, and then his wife Sunshine, and their 3 children, Caleb, Megan, and Jacob. And they are currently in Uganda, kind of holding down the fort with one of the other families and a few individuals. So while many of us have been gone on furlough this summer, they've had an extra load of responsibilities to keep up with. And so we're really thankful for their willingness to do that and their capability in doing that. But they would really appreciate your prayers for energy as they continue in that. Next. This is the crested crane. It is the national bird of Uganda, and it shows up in various places like on their flag. So if you look at the table up here, the tablecloth is the flag of Uganda. The center is the crested crane. It's also the name of their football team, or their soccer team as we know it. And Jim is sporting their jersey. This is the Nile River. As I said, we have to drive across this to get back to where we stay. And if you come and visit us, we might be able to sneak away and go whitewater rafting on the Nile River, which is class 5 and 6 rapids, so it's legitimate rapids. This is the where Jim and I spend most of our time, at the Akisio and Ayesu Presbyterian Clinic. And I think Jim mentioned already, that's the compassion of Jesus in the Karamojong language. So this is what our clinic looks like currently. As I said, we're in the process of building a new clinic, but the clinic was built 10 years ago with the idea that it would be a mobile clinic. So the backbone of our clinic is shipping containers. So you've seen the 20-foot shipping containers on the back of a tractor trailer carting goods around. Well, we have made a clinic out of that. So the patients come through this front waiting area and are registered, and then they go to one of the shipping containers wherever they need to go. So what does it look like when you have a clinic in a shipping container or in several shipping containers? Well, it's really great when people like Bob Wright, our missionary deacon, and others get a hold of them and cut windows out of them and add running water and solar power and that sort of thing, so it makes it much more easy to see patients in a shipping container. So this is an example of one of the offices. And this is what our pharmacy looks like. So we have drug storage on one side, and then we have drug dispensing on the other side. This is what the laboratory looks like on the far side there. But then why are we building a new clinic? Well, part of it is that this was just meant to be a mobile or temporary solution to a clinic. And part of it is because of the rainy and dry seasons, the ground shifts dramatically. So if you don't have a proper foundation, the ground cracks quite a bit. So this structure is just cracking kind of in half. So it's like there's a fault line going down the middle. So from that front door that I showed you where people come in, all the way across the clinic and to the back, there's this crack in the floor, and it even was cracking the wall, so we had to knock the wall down so that it wouldn't fall on someone and injure someone. So one of our nurses has to see patients in an office that is part blue tarp and part cracked wall, so it's not very great for patient privacy. We also have some small little critters like this, just a little baby snake, only about 8 feet long. It's a baby python.
So Jenny and I get to work with 16 African staff in the clinic. 14 of them are from Uganda and 2 of them are from Kenya. And so I'm going to mention 3 prayer requests for the work there in the clinic. But overall, we really enjoy the work. We have great relationships with the clinic staff. We enjoy working with them. But some of the prayer requests are, number 1, if you would pray for Jenny and I, as we're the bosses, we're the managers of the clinic. And so neither Jenny nor myself have had official administrative or managerial training, but that's at least half of what we're doing each day in the clinic. Is overseeing the work of the clinic there. And so please pray for us that we would be godly leaders, godly examples as we're overseeing the clinic. And then secondly, but much more importantly, most importantly for the work in the clinic, is that sometimes it's really easy, often it's really easy to forget about why we're there. So you get wrapped up, you're seeing patients, you're doing the paperwork, and you forget about the fact that you're there as a Christian or as a missionary. And so if you would just pray for us, that we would always have it in our mind, have that being our mindset, that we're there to adorn the work of the gospel. So if the most important work, the main reason why we're there as an entire mission is to spread the gospel, well, how does the medical work, how does the clinic support that work or adorn the work of the gospel? So you can pray for us in general, but you can also pray for the entire mission as we think about this question. It's really great to have Pastor Al, Pastor David there, because they can come over to the clinic basically every day. For example, they can come over and lead clinic staff devotions at the beginning of each day. They'll come over and they'll work with some of the clinic staff to do things like teaching how to deal with end-of-life care, how to pray with patients, etc. But then they can also come over every day and actually preach to the patients while they're waiting to be seen in the clinic. Jenny and myself, we can also be, as we're seeing the patients, we can be praying with them. We can be inviting them to church on Sundays. But again, please just pray for us overall as we're thinking about what does it mean to have a medical work adorning the work of the gospel. And then thirdly, if you would pray for peace in the clinic. So again, overall, we have great relationships among the clinic staff. We really enjoy working with them. But among those 16 staff members, there's 5 different tribes represented there in the clinic. And so you've got very different cultural, ethnic, spiritual, educational, etc. backgrounds all working together inside the same clinic. And so while overall they get along very well, if there are any problems, then often what happens is people kind of retreat into their tribal background and there is tension that develops. So for example, you've got this guy. His name is Leopold Godfrey. Godfrey is a Karamojong man who works with us in the clinic as a translator. And he's a Karamojong. And so his ancestry, or his background, is from that tribe that would go and steal the cows from other tribes. And so his family, his ancestors have gone out, they've stolen cows from other tribes, and they've probably either seriously hurt or even killed some of those other tribal members in the process of stealing the cows. And so you've got him working with a guy like this. This is Fred Soyekwo. Fred is a nurse who works with us in the clinic, but Fred's a Kupsabin. So he's from a completely different tribe in Uganda, and his tribe was the one that had the really nice cows in Uganda. And so the Karamojong like to go to the Sabine people and steal their cows. And so Fred's family, they're afraid of the Karamojong. They can't believe that we would work among the Karamojong, because they remember literally having to run for their lives, having to hide in caves with their cows, so that they don't get hurt or have their cows stolen by the Karamojong. And so it's just one example of really different backgrounds working together in the clinic. And so if you would pray for peace overall in the clinic, that would be wonderful. I'm going to mention one other staff member that you could be praying for, please. And this is Okwai Moses, his wife Susan, and their daughter Anna Grace. Moses works with us in the lab, and he's probably one of our best friends or closest friends there in Nakale. He's a wonderful Christian man. He's got a wonderful attitude as he's working in the clinic, but there are a lot of tensions, a lot of pressures upon him. So first of all, Susan, his wife, she's actually a Muslim. And so you've got the tension of having a Muslim-Christian marriage, but also Moses, because he has a job, he's under a lot of financial pressures or tensions. So all of his extended family, all of his wife's extended family, they look to him to provide things like food and medical fees and school fees and things like that. And so again, lots of financial tensions are placed upon him because he has a job. So if you would pray for Moses and his family, that Moses would be a godly leader, a godly example for his family. This is one of our caterpillars. It's about 3 to 4 inches long, and I just think it looks really cool.